Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. It is XRL X3 Season 3, Race 5 here, and we are at the Netherlands in Zandvoort. We're looking to what might be a very interesting day today. I'm Insanely Air 13. I'm joined in the broadcast booth once again by XRL Torpedo. Torpedo, sorry about last week having to leave you all by yourself on short notice, but how are you doing today? How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling good. Obviously you couldn't do anything about what happened last week, but we'll hopefully it'll be a good race today in the Dutch Grand Prix.
All right, real quickly, looking at the team and driver lineup, not everybody is here thus far. We may be looking at a slightly smaller field than anticipated, but the representatives for the teams, we do have at least one for each team. In the Williams team, they're going to be represented by XXX Books, XXX, and XRL Tome. In the Haas F1 team, it's going to be Tassani 10. In the Alfa Romeo team, it's going to be Boothie 116 and Dave Ward 23. In the Racing Point team, it's going to be Schold and XRL Dino, not to be confused with Dino Prime 77, who makes an appearance on my main channel sometimes. In the AlphaTauri Honda team, it's going to be XRL Gusty and Collie Boy. In the Renault team, they're being represented by XRL Whippy, who is desperately trying to turn around the rough start to the season. In the McLaren F1 team, it's going to be XRL Jono and Retro Rixie. In the Aston Martin Red Bull team, it is Fasta 1869 and XRL Turbo. The only representative for the Ferrari team is XRL Ozda for now, and the Mercedes team, they're being represented by... I'm not 100% sure how to say his name, so please forgive me if I say it wrong, but I believe it would be pronounced Kexer.
Yeah, it's a weird one there, but I think you
Anyways, we're
pretty
already
much nailed
preparing
it.
to load into the lobby itself. Zandvoort's been a site of a lot of chaos when X1, X2, and X3 all came here last year for the first ever event in XRL at Zandvoort. Normal Formula One hasn't officially made a race start at this redone version of Zandvoort. They were anticipated to do one in 2020, however, the Netherlands reacted very strongly and swiftly to the outbreak of the cheese touch, as I like to call it, and suspended all sporting events within their country to the end of the year. So this year, though, we are anticipating to see Formula One actually run here. But in XRL, we actually know what races are like here. Chaotic, very hard to pass. Qualifying is everything. And if there's an instant in the final corner, it can very easily turn into a 3, 4, or even a 5-car accident.
Yeah, and like the start is key as well because with the turn it's so tight and you can easily just have loads of incidents, so that'll be to watch out for in the race. And it's a fast flowing track as well, so you've got to have the right setup to go with that, the nature of the circuit. So qualifying's a key factor as well for this one.
Another thing that's very key and big when it comes to the circuit is that this is a very downforce focused track, downforce and acceleration focused. The straights here aren't super long, but you do have quite a bit of them, and you will spend a good amount of time on the throttle, hence the acceleration. And throughout the latter part of Sector 1 into Sector 2, you have a long series of bends. They're not really outright corners, they're just kind of bends. It really tests the aerodynamic capabilities of your car, especially if you're following somebody else.
And I think there's not really like much to push us, but like for this Q1, I think there's no really need to get like loads of laps. Just get one lap, and if you're like top 5, that's just it. Because like obviously we're going to be seeing one person out in Q1, so we're going to have to wait and see about that. And there's drivers now already out.
Turbo leads the pack onto coming onto the race circuit as he's already sweeping through these corners throughout Sector 1. Gets into a braking zone. One of the nice things about Zandvoort, at least in my opinion, it's not been a tilkified track. It still has its classic styling. It's lined by grass and actual serious track barriers and not just slightly different colored types of pavement. Makes it very, very easy to avoid getting track violation penalties here.
Yeah, so we might see like very few penalties, like for track limits in this one. It depends how much they're pushing on the limit. And we could be seeing a wet race, but dry at the end.
That'd be very interesting. If the race starts in the wet, that means that all tire choice in Q2 would basically be thrown out the window. Everyone could go ahead, plop on a set of softs, and go full balls to the wall and not have to worry about it. And there's a car, I think that's a Mercedes that's gone around there in Sector 2. I'm trying to see who that is. That was Kexer. No damage on that car as far as I can see, and I can't tell if he went around or if he pulled to a stop to let the Haas by.
I think he did. He's just trying to warm up the tyres, but Turbo will be getting that first lap in qualifying. The thing is, with the wet, especially like when it's wet in Zandvoort, it could really play a huge factor because there'll be loads of incidents, like loads of people probably spinning off as well. So that the race is gonna prove like to be a good one. And Turbo's now coming around the final quarter, set his lap.
112.013. And Dave Ewart immediately beats that with a 111.287. And then Collie Boy comes out with a 110.886. In the realistic racing event yesterday, we saw the times were down there in the 109s, the high 109s, like 109.8. So you can break the barrier when all gloves are off. I'll be curious to see, though, if any of our X3 drivers will be able to break the 110 barrier today.
Oh, the Mercedes of Chet gets a 1 minute 10.474. Puts him quickest at the moment.
Schultz now coming across the line to begin his first flying lap. And now Dono ties Jector at the very top of the time sheets. And now Mufasa is at the top, 110.213. So Checker having a spin after saying a flying lap in Sector 2. No damage on the car though, and he will be able to bring it into the pits without too much of an issue. Ozza has gone second fastest with a 110.317. That means that Tome, Books, Rhetoric, C, and Whippy are the only 4 drivers who have yet to set a time. And as I'm saying that, Books is on his way out of the pit lane right now.
Yeah, we're still Tome, Books actually out. Rhetorixy and Whippy, they're in the pits. Still, will be on Books is on out lap. Thing is as well, I think we could be seeing a few drivers on me, probably like from probably 16th to round about like 10th or something. Could be going out like towards the end of the session to improve. We'll see.
No movement in the Williams team right now, so Tome, there's no effort to get him out yet. I believe I'm seeing some movement, though, from the Renault team, and yes, that is XRL Whippy, who is now coming out of the pit lane to begin his flying lap. We anticipate that Retro XC will join him shortly afterwards. Boothie right now is the only driver on track who has already set a time. Boothie has set a time of 1:10.5. A veteran of X3, as he now brings his car into the pits after he has set his time. So yeah, we only have 2 cars actually on track right now, although it looks like Tome is now coming out of the pit lane as we speak.
Books has just started his flying lap right now.
Sector 1, the largest sector in both distance and the amount of time it represents in your lap here. Flies it down, braking zone, then jumps back on the throttle very aggressively, 30.564 at the end of Sector 1. Real quickly, though, I want to check out Whippy, a championship contender in his own right, if he can just have some good luck. I'm going to go silent to my end and ride on board with Whippy for a full lap so you can hear what it's like running at Zandvoort in the factory Renault team. And Whippy goes to the top, 110.121. Filled that car with almost no fuel whatsoever, very abusive on the ERS, and it's paid off. He's at the top for right now. Ozda has gone out, and he's already up by about 3/10, so Ozda is putting himself in position to potentially break the 110 barrier. Books is also out on circuit, but he has abandoned his lap and come back into the pits. Retrix is in the middle of an outlap right now. Jono, his teammate, has just retired from the session. Tome is out in the middle of the lap right now, coming out of the final corner, and the final Williams driver will set his first lap time of the day at 1:10.843.
Meanwhile, Asda, he goes quickest, 1 minute 10.035. Just close of breaking into the 1 minute 9s. But I feel like we could be seeing that as the session goes on, and we'll have to wait and see. And
I absolutely agree with you. I think we really see the drivers basically pop the corks out the champagne bottles. Actually, that metaphor doesn't work very well. Let me think of a better. We see them drop all the training weights in Q3. Yes, the anime reference works a lot better than the actual motorsport reference. We're going to stick with that. Retro has begun his flying lap now as he's on the run down through turn 3. Interesting thing about this circuit is that it has 2 very significantly banked corners, but there are 2 completely different styles and setups. You have the highly banked turn 3, which is almost a full 180 degrees. 180 degrees around, and even with a Formula 1 car, because of how tight it is, you're only going at about 65, maybe 70 miles an hour through there. It's a lot more focused when it comes to the handling of the car, suspension-wise, and the ability to just get a good line through there. As opposed, though, you have the last corner, which is banked in a more traditional NASCAR style. It's a lot less tight, a lot less acute in a sense. and you carry a lot more speed through there. You're basically full throttle throughout the entire thing. It's what enables you to have a practical passing zone down the front straightaway, but makes for an interesting setup for the cars because you have two very, very different styles of banked corners coming here. And to just put something in perspective, there is no race. There are only two racetracks in the entirety of North America, which is where oval racing really is at its host, where you have corners of such wildly different setup. There, you have the triangle at Pocono, and then you have Texas Motor Speedway. And even there, the difference between the corners is very minimal, and it's only just a few degrees of banking difference. Here, the entire setup between the two banked corners comes down to the way you have to enter them, the way you have to set your car up through them. Everything is completely different. It makes for a very, very interesting way to set up the cars and really goes and hammers in how technologically focused Formula 1 is as a motorsport compared to everything else. Retro has set a lap time of 1:11.288, and on his cooldown lap, he ends up going through one of the braking boards, though. For right now, with 5 minutes and 39 seconds in the session, it is Turbo who is on the outside looking in. He needs to get in there, fill up the car as soon as possible, and get out there for another lap, with Retro Rixie being the driver who is on the bubble, and Dave Ewart being the one in 14th, who is the next most riskiest driver to get knocked out of the session.
Yeah, a bit surprising really from Retro Rixie, like been getting 15th. Probably not one of his favourite tracks, but we'll see. I think he might go again, as it seems. So you'll be having another crack at it. I think he might have made a mistake during that lap. I think that might have costed him a bit of time. But if he can improve, then that'll be good.
One of the biggest mistakes, and I saw this a bunch of times yesterday in the realistic race. I saw it last year when I was covering the X2 and X3 races. You do not want to be locking up the front tires too much in that banked turn 4. Doing so will destroy the life of those tires, especially these red softwall tires. It's not too much of an issue right now in qualifying, but in the race itself, it can become a massive problem.
Retro Rixie was like half a second up on his time in the first sector, and going through to the second sector, he's still up. So now a big final sector is needed.
Big thing about Sector 2 is that Sector 2 is a lot slower. It's basically the slowest part of the circuit, a little bit choppy in some ways. So because of that, if you find yourself losing time in Sector 2, that may speak to a problem when it comes to the setup of the suspension. Retro Rixie has taken himself out for the bubble. He moves up to 10th with a 1:10.794. Dave Ewart is now the driver who is on the bubble, and XRL Turbo's out in the middle of an outlap as well. So the race to get into Q2 is very much on right now.
Yeah, it is, but it's a lot to play for. It's a smaller field today, well, somewhat of a smaller field. So could that be less carnage as a racing point off? And that is XRL Dino. He's just treading through the gravel.
That's one of the reasons I do like this circuit a lot, and the classic kind of design of racetracks a lot. When you go off, there's an outright penalty for going off, but you can still save it if you're clever and smart enough. Dino went off in a pretty significant way there, but he still has all the pieces, all the winglets on the car. He's still fine. As long as there's enough fuel in the car, he would get a chance to go for another crack of a lap right now. He's currently 9th, 1:10.5.
Tooms is going quickest, 1:09.999.
Ewart has just crashed there, and he's in the runoff there. It looks like he may have banked the Alpha. He now puts the clutch in. He's trying desperately to get going. He was on a flying lap right there, and he has gone well off circuit. Gussie retires from the session. He feels no risk. So Dave Ewart may have just sacrificed his only chance to protect his run to Q2. Now he just needs Turbo to make a massive mistake. Otherwise, Dave might not make it into Q2.
Turbo is slightly up on his times, not by a lot. So it's all down to the second sector. He is half a second up. So. But is that going to be enough, though?
Interesting thing is, right now, the gap between Dave and Turbo is about 6.4 seconds, so that would not be enough. Turbo needs to be up by about 2/3 of a second if he wants to do it. Will he find it in this last sector? Yes, he does! 111.179. Does Dave Ewart have enough fuel to go for another shot? He's going to try for it, it seems. He's got the DRS popped open. He has 66% in the ERS, so he's going to go full balls to the wall here. There's a minute and 17 seconds left.
Ooh.
And he's into the dirt there in Sector 1. This is not looking good for Dave. The downforce, heavy focus sector. Coming downhill, this is the bit where he made a lockup and went into the dirt. He keeps it on the circuit for now.
Ooh.
He just needs to improve by about 11 hundredths. He's in Sector 2 right now. Gotta be very careful in this corner. You don't want to put the power down too aggressively and spin the rear of the car around. He's got the car straight, pops up in the DRS on this short straightaway. At the end of Sector 2, is he up? No, he's down by a second, 1.2 second. Unless he finds a monster amount of time in this bit corner here, there's no way he's going to advance. At the line, Dave Ewart will not even come close to improving. And with that in mind, the session time, the clock is ticking away. Dave Ewart is in the middle of another lap, but I don't know if he's going to have fuel to go for another full-bore attempt here.
He's got his ERS down to 0, so I don't think he is going to go for that lap.
Oh, my screen ERS says it's at 54%. Thank you, Codemasters. You can't tell us the right thing at all, can you?
Oh, the deployment mode I think is on 0. Yeah, he's 3 seconds down.
Yeah, he's definitely not.
He's not.
Checker has had another incident. Checker has spun for the second time coming onto that short back straightaway, and that's not good for Checker. Also, I missed this completely, but Tome went out there. He broke the 110 barrier by the smallest margin, 109.999. I'm not German. I'm not German. It's literally the time. You can see it right there, folks. So congratulations for Tome breaking into the 110 barrier, breaking the 110 barrier. And with that in mind, once Dave Ewart comes around into the pits, the session will come to a close. Only 16 cars, but definitely a interesting Q1 to say the least. So now, all the hopes for the Alfa Romeo team to get a good starting spot today rests on Boothie, who qualified 9th in Q1 with a 110.535. Excuse me. So, real quick, Torpedo, you want to give us the rundown of everyone who made it into Q2?
Yep, we have the quickest is Tome in the Williams with 2nd Asda, in 3rd Whippy, 4th Mufasta, 5th Checker, I think, 6th Rich Rixie, 7th Jono, 8th Books, 9th Boofy, 10th Dino, 11th Tisani, 12th Shold, 13th Gusty, 14th Collie 15th Turbo, and 16th Dave Ewart.
Yeah, it's gonna be kind of rough for Dave. Will not make it to the next round. I don't know if anyone else is gonna show up who may have missed qualifying, but if they show up and miss it, then they will fill an aisle in behind Dave. Again, even with the 16-car field, this circuit, just due to the nature of it, is going to feel very cramped, even if you only have 10 cars racing. So. I'm going to back out of the broadcast real quickly. Twitch is going to say I'm going to back out and come back in because my F1 2020 continues to say that Dave Ewart has the fastest lap, and that's very plainly not the case.
I think my internet is playing up, so I might need to reset. Wait, let me reset 1 minute. I'll reset when you come back.
Hopefully you don't get too far into. I also want to say thank you to Boothie and Daza for sending me invites back into the lobby, and I will be able to accept those the moment I can. Just trying to deal with some technical issues. This game still has some hiccups here and there, to say the least. Here we are coming back to the spectators real quickly. Alright, so this is the session where tire strategy is decided, but if the rat comes true and we end up with a wet start to the race, it could be a very interesting because Q2 could just be ignore medium tires altogether and jump on the softs, unless, and this is the counterpoint, unless you think, ooh, and as I come back, Dino and the Williams of, I believe that's Tome, right next to each other, but Tome pulls off the circuit. So yeah, Dino will be the first one to come across the line. But if we start under wet conditions, the fastest drivers might go ahead and elect to put on medium tires so they have an extra set of softs for the race. We are coming across the line in 4, 3, 2, 1, and that's Dino beginning his first flying lap, and he will be joined right afterwards by the Williams of Tome. And already, almost everyone is out on the circuit. There's only 3 cars I see still on pit road. The two McLarens, and then the Haas of Tassani. Bit of a yellow flag in Sector 1 going into Sector 2 there, but it's already been removed. Azda is on an outlap right now, will be gaining his flying lap very shortly. Everyone's did a good job spraying each other out, so there shouldn't be too much of an issue of dirty laps, and Azda has to come into the pits. Apparently something was wrong with that car. I have to wonder what it is. Real quickly, as we look at the tires that are currently fitted, Dino, Azza, and Collie-Boy and Boothie are the 4 drivers who are currently running on the mediums. Dino sets the first lap of the session on a 111.051. Tone destroys that right off the bat with a 110.213. Here comes Schold out of the final corner, and he has a Renault behind him who will jump into the pits. Schold goes up to 110.591. Mufasa is at 110.041. The laps are clicking off fast right now. This is Tassani right now who's going through Sector 2. Books is coming across the line. He goes up to 3rd, 110.289. So the Williams, like they were yesterday in the realistic racing league, the Williams are showing a lot of speed and potential here today in qualifying.
Turbo's put the slowest lap time of the session so far, 1 minute 12.455. Need a big improvement there, and
raining.
And we're getting word, we're getting report that there may be rain falling on the circuit. We're not able to see it. No, I see it now. There is most definitely rain falling onto the circuit. And this changes everything because there are still 5 drivers who have not yet set a lap in this session. These 5 drivers, including 3 of our championship contenders, might end up getting hurt by that. Tassani is in the middle of the flying lap right now. He needs to get this lap in and get it in fast, and he needs to just beat Turbo's time of 112.455. For Azza, Retrixie, Jono, and Whippy, it's going to be a lot more difficult because the track is only going to get wetter and wetter. All eyes are on Tassani right now. If Tassani loses control of the car in this lap, then that means that it might not be possible for anyone who hasn't set a lap yet to make it into Q3. Azza's in the middle of a flying lap right now. He will be the next driver to watch. The track is not terribly wet yet, but we anticipate that will change within the next minute or so. Tasani has the DRS open and coming across the line. It's good enough for 5th. 110.452. Turbo is now on the outside looking in. Collie Boy is on the bubble. Yono has begun his flying lap as Azda is going through the downforce speed focus sections of turn 1 right now.
Scholl has retired from the session as well at 30.367 in the first sector for Asda.
112.455 will not be enough. He now has to be at 111.390. That's Collie Boy, who is the driver currently on the bubble. Retro, Whippy, Yono are all also in the middle of flying laps, but Azda is the focus we have right now. This is maybe the only chance for them to get a true flying lap. The track is not terribly wet yet. Coming into the final corner for Azda. The DRS pops open on the main straight. What will his time be at the line? 110.335. And the problem is for Retro, Yono, and Whippy, as each of these drivers improve and are able to set a lap, it makes the time that the following driver has to beat even harder to make. Yono comes across the line, 110.678. Retro is going to be the next one across the line. What will he be able to do? Dino and Turbo are in the middle of outlaps right now, but with the track getting wetter, I don't know if it's going to happen. Retro sets a time of 111.066, but that's not going to be enough. Whippy is coming down across the line. What will he be able to set? He goes 6th, 110.391. All 15 drivers have set a time. Right now, it's...
Azza's had a spin.
Azza has had a spin. Azza has had a spin and has significantly damaged the wing, but he has set the time, a 5th best time, so he will, as it stands right now, make it into Q3. The question is, Retro is currently in the middle of a lap right now, I believe. Oh, no, actually, I take that back because he's down almost a full second. Dino is in the middle of a lap, and then Collie Boy and Turbo are both on outlaps. Will Dino get a chance to put down a flying lap here before we get too far into a wet track? If Dino can put a good time down, and he needs to improve by about half a second, he can knock Yono back out, and Dino will put himself back into Q3. The big thing is, because of the nature of a wet weather circuit, even with wet weather tires, you will be slower than a dry track on dry tires. Everyone has completely abandoned pretense of running medium tires. Everyone has put on soft tires, trying to squeeze the last little bit out of this track right now. Dino improves by 3/10, but that's not enough to get him ahead of Scholl. He is ahead of Retro, but Dino is still on the outside looking in.
Whippy's retired from the session, so he is clearly safe, I think. Foam is
Scholl is
also...
the driver on the bubble, but he is retired from the session. Azda retires from the session. Books retires from the session. A lot of the drivers higher up see that the track is wet and they feel no need to risk their equipment or defend their lap times because no one is going to be coming close to their times. Turbo's coming across the line, but his lap is already significantly slow. I think in Turbo's case, the problem is that he might not have got the car properly fueled or the ERS properly loaded. Real quickly, as we continue to watch Turbo, Gusty, and Retro turn laps here, we have in the broadcast booth Azda. Azda, you've already retired from the session. Please go ahead and share with us what are the conditions on the track right now, in terms of how wet the circuit is.
The track isn't wet for inters just yet. It's alright for dries, but you're going to lose a significant amount of time. Obviously, as you saw my in-lap there, I did spin a couple of times, and that was going slow. So if you're trying to set a lap time now on with these conditions, on those sort of tyres, you're not going to do a very good lap. So I highly doubt that Retro Rixie, Gusty, Collie Boy, or Turbo even get through to Q3. But yeah, obviously, I also made the mistake of going out on the mediums. I didn't check what I was going out on, so I
Turbo has had an accident! Turbo has had an accident that has destroyed his car there! Turbo is knocked out of the session with a destroyed race car! I'm sorry to cut you off, Azda, but
No,
that's
fine. No, that's... Oh, that is... Yeah, so, as you now can tell...
Gusty! Ooh, Gusty just nearly wrecked the car as well!
Yeah, so as I was saying, the conditions are getting very, very much worse now. So yeah, it's definitely time for maybe inters now. So no one else is going to improve, I don't think.
All right, now real quick, Azza, if the rain continues going into Q3 and it's a wet track, do you think you have any strategy or decent car setup that would let you go for a pole in wet weather conditions?
It doesn't really matter about the setup. It doesn't matter about your confidence. In wet, it's all about confidence. Some drivers might have more than what I do. I know Whippy's very quick in the wet. Obviously, me and him we're going to be very close throughout the season, and I think we may be having a few battles here and there, and also maybe a championship battle. We don't know yet, but I'm just hoping that maybe I can fight for the higher positions in the race, so then I can get away cleanly and have a decent race.
All right, thank you very much, Azza, for sharing your thoughts. If we continue to watch right now, Retro is 12. He has a time of 111.065 is his best. The time everyone needs to get is 110.591. And here's the thing. Ooh, and Dono retires from the session. So yeah, here's the thing right now. Schold, who is 10th and on the bubble right now, is not in a position to improve his lap. He's retired. He will not go out again. So that bar is not going to change unless someone from 11th to 14th beats it. The problem is, because the track is getting wet, we can actually see the track dampening up right now. And we can see the raindrop is rolling down on the onboard cameras. The circuit is very quickly becoming impossible to handle. Now, we have seen before drivers be able to run and put down faster laps in wet conditions at Mexico. Holy Dino with a humongous accident there. Massive damage to the front wing. I think he'll be able to make it around, but I think we can say this track is a washout. And for championship contenders, Retro Rixie and Gusty and Coley Boy and Turbo, I mean, most of the field are championship contenders considering we're still early in the season, but primarily for Retro, this could be very, very bad for them. It's so hard to make up positions on track here. Coley Boy retires from the session. He feels that there is no need to continue pushing right now. Gusty is on another outlap. Dino is coming around right now into the pits. Excuse me. Retro is coming out of the pits right now. Again, the interesting thing is everyone is still equipped soft tires because everybody knows that even with intermediate tires, you're not going to go faster than the driver is soft. So they're trying to dig deep and pull something out. Retro, without a doubt, one of the fastest drivers in X3, has not had the start to the season that he wanted, ended up losing a win at Bahrain due to a game glitch and just has not had a lot of good runs outside of that. He's trying to dig deep, get that ability that he had during his championship contending run last season. The car sounds a little bit sick as he does the drive-through there. Gusty's in the middle of a flying lap as well as he's going through the banked turn 3. Retro has begun his flying lap as well. Dino is still in pit lane, and with only a minute left in the session, there's no way for Dino to get out there and even attempt to improve. The time that Retro and Gusty need to get to is 110.591. So for Retro, that will be an improvement of about half the second that he needs to do over his current best lap time. Ooh, and Retro's into the dirt. Once, twice, he's in the grass again. He saves the car, but he's invalidated his lap in the process. And there's not enough time for him to get around again. Gusty has abandoned. He was down by 8/10. So the session is basically over.
And he's spun again.
Retro spins! Credit where credit's due to Retro Rixie and Gusty. Despite having very, very difficult conditions, the incidents that they had were kept to a very minimal. They didn't damage the car, didn't tear up wings or anything. So good job on them for that part. But still, rain early on in Q2 basically throws a massive monkey wrench going into Q3. And the real question is going to be, how wet is the circuit going to be when we get into Q3 and for the start of this race?
Oh, Boothie managed. Boothie did his only lap on mediums.
And that could be very interesting, because if we start in the dry, Boothie will be in a better position than everyone else if we start dry and stay dry for a significant period of time.
Yeah, I don't think it's oh.
Oh.
Excuse me. Well, the drivers who make it in, Mufasa and the Red Bull, was definitely the most impressive. Got up there very early and put on a great lap. So now we get into Q3. It's going to be wet, but the question is how wet. And if it's just damp and there's no rain, the track will dry out as we go through the session. No, there is rain right now, and the track is definitely still wet. So we're probably going to see drivers have to balance between running softs and being super, super risky but fast, or running intermediate tires and being slower but reduce the risk of having an incident. Also, if the track is deemed wet enough, we will not see DRS be enabled. DRS will be disabled, and the lap times will be significantly, significantly slower. Hasa Tassani is the first driver to come out onto the circuit. He will be joined shortly afterwards by Mufasa, who had the fastest lap in Q2.
Some drivers are out on the softs, some have like fitted on the intermediates. And as there's all the intermediates right now.
Ozza, Tome, and Shecker are all the drivers on the intermediates. Ozza is the first one who are running the intermediates here. And it's going to be a big big telltale sign of saying just how bad the track is going to be right now. But the thing is, as the rain continues, the track is just going to continue to get wetter and wetter. Putting on the intermediates early gives you an advantage of, I don't have to worry about the car getting out of control. But you might be tearing chunks out of the tires if the track isn't wet enough to justify it. If the track is not wet enough, and you're running intermediates on a track that's not wet enough, you'll have the problem where it will tear chunks out of the tires as you're running laps here, and your tires will die very fast. And Tassani has had a massive accident there in the last two corners. He is stuck on the inside in the grass, running extremely slow right now. There's significant wing damage, but somehow, whatever has happened, he has kept the car in mostly one piece, and he will get another chance at this.
I'm just looking at Asda right now, and I think all my fastest had a spin.
Red coming out of the first corner.
And that's not good as well for the pit exit.
Whippy is the only driver, I think, who is on the flying lap on the softs. Ozza is on a flying lap on the intermediates. Two of our championship contenders going neck and neck, running two completely different tire strategies right now.
Boothie spun on the main straight. Boothie had spun on the main straight, but he's gone into the pits now.
If Whippy sets a lap time faster than Ozza, it could be very defining for the championship battle and the start of this race. The softs will still be faster than the intermediates as long as he can keep control of the car. He's being very, very gentle, putting the throttle down, coming out of these corners. Very slow time. Whippy's already at 1:13 when we were seeing times of 1:10 earlier, and a huge accident for Whippy.
He's gone.
The car spins out of the last corner, massively impacts the inside wall, and Ozza needs to be careful because Whippy is right there in the racing line. Ozza will avoid it. Whippy crashed out in the last corner of his flying lap. A massive incident. The car is stalled right there on the racetrack, and the front suspension is destroyed, and hopefully they'll be able to get that car removed before Books comes around. No, that's not Books, that's Tome.
Oh, yes, Tome. Books is coming around now. Mufasta's out of the way. He goes into the pits.
Books is in a flying lap right now on the softs still.
Oh!
He kept control of it. So Books will set a lap on the softs. But it's a slow lap. 121.499. The intermediates, without a doubt, are the way to go.
Yeah, Boothie went in the pits. He was on the softs. He's fitted on the intermediates. Mufasa was on the softs. He's pitted. He might go on to the inters as well. So it is definitely the way to go at the moment. Here comes Jono. And DRS has been disabled, so it definitely is time for intermediates. Jono coming around now the final corner onto the main straight.
The interesting thing is, if DRS had been enabled prior, that means that drivers like Tom, Ozda, and Checker will have an advantage because they would have been able to utilize DRS along with the intermediates. Those might be the fastest laps we see this entire session. I'm not saying that will be the case. I'm just saying that might have been the case if they still had the ability to use DRS in their flying laps. Shoulders in the middle of the lap right now. Of no, Books, it's still a cooldown lap, but he is still running the softs. Hopefully Books can make it around safely without damaging the car. The track is now wet enough that you can see the spray of slightly evaporated water out from the back of Scholl's machine as he goes through Sector 2 right now. Tassani is in the middle of the lap right now. Tassani, probably the biggest, luckiest driver right now, went out on the softs, had an incident in the fastest part of the racetrack, and was able to keep the car alive. And he gets another chance to set a lap time. And for Tassani, he is guaranteed at least a 9th place start, if not better.
But this is also key for Asda, because he's starting near the front. You got Whippy in 10th, and he's going to have to make his way through the field, and it's not going to be easy, especially in the wet conditions as well. So, take advantage of Asda there.
And the big other thing is that RB Llama, who not necessarily dominated, but was very strong early on. Oh, Ozza goes to the top, 119.278. So Ozza's making a run for the pole in these treacherous conditions. Scholl set a time of 121.198 right now. But the big thing is, because RB Llama has been moved up and graduated out of X3, because the officials say that he basically had pace for a faster series, Llama will not be a direct championship threat to Ozda anymore. Whippy crashed out, so he's only going to start 10th. Retro Rixie, another championship contender, isn't even going to start in the top 10.
Boofy's gone again.
A massive accident there for Boothie, but he's able to keep the car alive. Boothie is having a hard time, though.
Same place as before in Q2. And
Ozda spins again, trying to get the car underway. The good news for Ozda, though, is that he has the fastest time, but Ozda's facing the wrong way, and if he faces the wrong way for long enough, the game might disqualify him. He's facing the right way again, though. Mufasa and Boothie need to set lap times and set them as quickly as possible.
Boofy's going to repair that damage, and Ozda spun again. Just needs to cool down the top, just needs to get back to the pits very slowly. Scholl has
Scholl's
gone!
For Scholl. Scholl has had a massive accident on the front straightaway. He set a time of 121.198, and now he is wrecked.
And it's directly at the pit entry as well, so they've got it. The drivers have to move. They'll have to slow down.
Oh god, it's blocking Mufasa. Mufasa went to pit. He's not going to get a chance here. Alright, the car is now deswung. Mufasa sets a time of 120.392. So he's ahead of Scholl now. Boothie is still in pit lane. He has 4 minutes to get that damage repaired and get out there and set a lap. He needs to do it as fast as possible.
2 accidents in Q3, and it just shows how the rain could really affect people, especially in a track like this.
Boothie is coming out of the pits now. Books is on an outlap as he's down that short back straightaway now. Oh, and the Haas of Sassani has had another off. No damage on that car, but he went really far off circuit in the sand. And that was in the middle of a flying lap. The fuel light is on, so I don't know if he's going to have fuel to make another attempt.
If we're seeing this sort of like stuff in qualifying, what is the race gonna bring?
Oh, I don't want to think about it. I will say this. When we ran the Zandvoort races last year here, they were all in the dry conditions, and there was nothing but accident after accident after accident after toaster after accident after accident. It could be even worse in these scenarios. Mufasa was actually up at the end of Sector 2. He improves again. Mufasa's now up to 5th, 119.973, so Mufasa is finding bits of speed around this circuit. Boothie. No, that is the Ferrari, I think. Yeah, that's Ozda. Ozda apparently wants to come out and set a faster lap because Tom is out there, and Tom is going to try and improve as well. The thing is, you're running a huge risk trying to improve. If you damage and destroy your car, you will probably get relegated to the back of the top 10, or top 9 now, considering that Whippy's already knocked out. Boothie is in the middle of a flying lap right now. Ozda right behind the Red Bull of Mufasa, and he's going to be coated by the spray from that Red Bull. Ozda decides to wisely pull over and let the gap open up just a bit so he can have some more clean air on the front wing of that car. Yono is coming down to begin a flying lap very shortly here. Books is on another lap. Oh, and Boothie had a really sideways moment there in Sector 2. He's still got the car facing the right way, though. But that Alpha's rear end does not seem to like the weather. That thing is stepping out significantly in every corner where he starts putting the power down. Boothie seems to like putting the power down. Oh, and that's Ozda. Ozda has had an accident there going down the front straightaway, it seems. And he's not in a position to come into the pits. I can't see if there's any wing damage on that Ferrari. There does not appear to be, but the car was extremely slow, and that's going to hurt, and he can't say ahead of putting a flying lap down. Tome is up by about a quarter of a second. That in itself would be enough to put him in direct threat for the pole against Ozda. Does he continue to hold that advantage?
Yes, he's done it.
Yes! Tome to the top, 119.119. I don't think Ozda is going to be able to improve. There's not enough time for him to get around. Ozda just needs to be careful right now. And he goes off into the sand and grass. But he saved it. He saved it from hitting the wall. So the car is still alive. He just needs to bring the car back into the pits in one piece. And he will get at least a starting position in the top 2. Yono's coming down. What will Yono come to? Yono gets third, 119.413.
Boothie's crashed.
Boothie, a massive accident there in Sector 2. So 3 drivers get knocked out in accidents in the pouring rain here. Oh boy, and Boothie is right there in the racing line for Tome. And Tome was in the middle of a lap there. But it looks like Tome's going to take the pole. And although Ozda will miss the point for pole position, he's going to start up front, hopefully miss most of the chaos, while most of his championship contenders will be stuck back there in the middle of it. Yono is in the middle of a lap right now, but the fuel light is flashing, and I think he's just being very cautious right now. Tome is on a cooldown lap as well.
Yeah. That's a crazy Q3 that was. And the race could be even more crazy, I think, with the wet weather.
Anyways, time's up. Over. Plow. Yono comes across the line, officially ending the session. Real quick, Ozda, before we get into the race proper, I do want to thank you for being willing to answer questions earlier. Real quickly, missing out on the pole, but you are aware, just checking, you are aware that your main rivals in the championship are nowhere close to you at the start of this race, right?
Yeah, obviously, Whippy, DNF, that was very unfortunate. You know, see, I did the same thing in ARL on Monday. Tried to go full throttle through the intermediate conditions, and obviously smacked the wall and died. So, very unfortunate for Whippy there, but I'm honestly not too sad for him because he's my main rival as of now because I know he's quick. Obviously, Jono is in third, so he's right beside me. No, it's not actually, no, he's behind me. But I just need to fend off Jono. Obviously, Tom is a reserve, so I'm not too bothered about him. But I just need to fend off Jono and Whippy. I'm sure Whippy won't have that much trouble fending through the field. I know he's a quick person, so should be able to fend through the field quite nicely. But yeah, the main threat right now in this race is Jono, because obviously he is P2 in the standings, and obviously I want to keep my P1. So yeah, Jono is the main threat today.
Alright, real quick question, Ozza. Assuming we're going to start in the rain, but the rain goes away and the track starts drying out, do you have enough sets of good soft tires that you can just power through to the end of the race?
Yeah, I do. I think I haven't used all my sets, so that should be decent. And yeah, and also I've got the mediums if I can go to the mediums, but obviously if it's too long and the rain dries out really early, then I'll have to go into the mediums. But if not, I'll switch onto the softs and hopefully get to the end. If I even get to the end, you don't even know. So yeah, hopefully I can get to the end, and yeah, it should be a good race.
Alright, I will say this, Ozda. This doesn't go just to you, this goes to everyone, but good luck staying alive out there in the rain. Just try and stay alive, stay alive.
Exactly. It's all about consistency in the rain, I've got to be honest. So yeah, and it's going to be quite hard to see, so visibility is going to be key here. So yeah, hopefully we don't have two major crashes like Magello in real life or something like that. But yeah, so I'll leave you guys to it, and I'll speak to you after the race.
Yeah,
No worries.
full wets as well. So very heavy.
Real quickly, before we get into the race itself, I want to go ahead and look at the point standings as they are right now. Pulling up the X3 standings. When it comes to points, again, I missed the race at Montreal. I heard it was a relatively clean race, which is nice to hear. But looking at the team standings, at the bottom is still the AlphaTauri team. They only have 9 points. It's a massive gap between them and ninth, with Williams with 23 points. The Racing Point team has 26 points, 2 behind Red Bull, who is 7th. They have 28 points. The Mercedes team has 32 points. Ahead of them, 5th is the Alfa Romeo team with 41. Scuderia Ferrari has 55 points. The Renault F1 team has 65 points. The Haas F1 team has 70 points. And at the top is the McLaren F1 team with 83 points. Real quickly now, looking at the driver standings. At the bottom, Frater Smith, Unnamed Drake, and Dale Ben all still have yet to earn points. Herbie and Constant Jet both have 1 point each. Collie Boy has 3 points. Gusty has 6 points. Turbo has 7 points. 11th in the standings is Boothie with 14 points. Snake has 19 points. Snake has 17 points. Fritz has 19 points. 8th on the standings is 22 points is Books. Scholl is 7th with 25 points. He is 2 points behind Ray Hole, who is 6. However, Ray Hole is not here, so this is a good chance for Scholl to jump him in the standings. Retro XC has just had some bad luck. He has fallen to 5th in the standings. He has 32 points. Whippy has 48 points. Jono has 51. Ozza has 54. Llama has 70 points. So right now, Llama is still technically leading the point standings. However, Llama will not continue to run in X3. So once Ozda earns 16 or more points, Ozda will go ahead and take the points lead. Same thing if Jono earns 19 points before Ozda gets 16, the points lead would go to Jono. So we anticipate that points lead will change either this week or next week if some crazy stuff happens. Real quick, apparently there's a little bit of echo coming off the stream. I'm not hearing it myself, but I'm not hearing any echo from your end, but are you hearing any echo from me, Torpedo?
No, I'm just searching through my settings right now, trying to fix it. If it is mine.
Yeah, okay. I don't know if it's mine or not. I keep my TV pretty much muted, and I don't know if it's echo from mics or echo from the game. I hope it's not either. Ho- I hope it's not the room I'm in, because I have my entire room covered in soundproofing foam. Well, not my entire room, but like a good third of it's covered in soundproofing foam. So I do this broadcasting stuff too much to not be using it. I'm gonna open up my windows. Alright, but anyways, we're now looking at the start of the race. It's going to be pouring wet, pouring in rain. It's honestly bad enough that I think you might want to consider starting on full wets. And if we start in these full wet conditions, the track will take an extremely long time to dry out. We might still see the track being damp going to the end of the race, frankly, if the rain goes away. And then we also have the threat of if the rain doesn't go away, we run into a different set of scenarios there, because you just have to make the full wets and intermediates last. Also, in these wet conditions, there is no DRS. Passing here, as difficult as it is with DRS, it's going to be almost impossible without it. Drivers need to do everything they can to just preserve. Oh boy, and for the people who aren't even in the top 10, just trying to get points is going to be hell, because they basically have to hope and pray that drivers ahead make mistakes or get penalties or something. Stand by, though, waiting to get underway for the race itself.
Look, boys, have a...
Yep. And we're going.
Five lights. As lights out, and away we go here. And one of the Williams right off the bat goes into the outside wall, and he cuts right across the track and spins across the entire field, and already a massive accident in the back of the field. Books, that was Books, who had a massive accident back there. Meanwhile, Ozza has lost his starting position to Jono, and there's a safety car right at the start. Books has gotten away, at least, but there's significant damage in the car, and in the championship battle, Jono has taken over Ozza at the start of the race.
Quite a few penalties across the field. Book's got a drive through. He
The
jumped
safety
the
car is
start.
stuck in the middle of the racing field. This could be an issue because of how glitchy the game is. We may see Dusty, Dave Ewart, Turbo, and Books get penalized for having to overtake the safety car. Not saying that will happen, but considering how glitchy this game is, I would anticipate it. The track is completely covered in rain right now, though.
Books has no front wing as well, so he's gonna have to make that pit stop. So yeah, and also he'll have to serve a drive-through penalty once we get green flag racing once again. If we jump at the start as well. Dusty
Rough
and
time
Dino
for
have got
Books. He
penalties
jumped
as well.
at the start. Books jumped the start, and his jump just sent him right into the inside wall and crashing across the entire field. That might get looked at post-race. Dusty and Dino have penalties.
And they've got
Judging
damage
by
as
the
well
fact
on the wing.
Now, I wonder what happened with Dino and Gusty to get them penalized, considering that, at least I didn't see anything for them, but weird.
I think they had a collision with each other, I think, at the start.
Dino, I know, hit Books. When Books spun across the track, he came, hit a driver, then got turned 90 degrees in relation to the rest of the field, and the tracing point of Dino hit him right into the door at a very slow speed, but still hit him. But I don't know if the penalty is from that, or if Dino afterwards hit Gussie. I didn't get to see that. Now the field gathers up behind the pace car. Very, very chaotic start to this race. Didn't even make it into turn 1 with an accident. But unlike last year, where the two Ferraris took themselves out right at the start, this year the Ferrari only lost 1 position, and everyone is still racing on track for now. Question is just going to be how long will it take for Dino, Gussie, and Books to catch up to the back of the field. Turbo has just gotten by Dave Ewart, and Ewart has had a position collision with Collie Boy, apparently, under the yellow flag. And there's so much spray coming out. Normally, I would say the game is being bullcrap, but with all the spray I'm seeing on the circuit right now, yeah, I could believe that. On board with Turbo just right behind Dave and Collie Boy, I can barely see Collie Boy's car. I see the name tape for Collie Boy come up before I see the car itself. The track is completely poured and covered in water right now. And we're under yellow flag conditions, and we're getting word that some of the drivers can't see the cars directly in front of them. Not a Formula 1 event, but I'm reminded in 2001, CART, which was the one of America's 2 open-wheel racing series at the time, CART ran a race at Portland in very similar conditions. The entire first third of the race was pretty much just yellow flag after yellow flag after yellow flag. Drivers were not able to see anybody in front. The top 2 were okay in that race, but there was so much rain that it was impossible to actually get any serious racing done. It really, really hurt the reputation of that series when it happened. And I'm honestly we're looking at very, very similar conditions here. The rain is honestly borderline enough that if this was real life, I would be like trying to page up the officials and say, hey, throw the red flag, let the weather pass, because this is honestly a little bit excessive right now. I'm riding right on board with Mufasa right now. I literally cannot see any of the cars in front of him except for the blinking light out of the back of Oz's Ferrari. And Mufasa is up there in 4th, and we are under yellow flag conditions. It's very, very slow, and the rain coming down and the spray is that extreme right now.
Yeah, like also this kind of weather reminds me of like Japan 2014 in some way, the heavy rain in that one. Oh yeah, and like there needs to be like red flags like in the game, especially like for like big crashes, weather and all that, but obviously they're not into that. They've not got that yet. Safety cars in this lap.
Oh, this could be very chaotic. Hey, Torpedo, would you care to do me a favor?
Yep.
Would you be willing to watch like the top 3-4 guys? I'm gonna ride on board with somebody in the back and see what this race starts like from the back, just to see how crazy the spray is going to be at the start.
Okay. Let's hope it's not like Jello.
Yeah, just cut right in the moment you see anything of significance. I'm gonna be silent on my end. Green flag.
Oh, Alistair's making a move on Jono on the inside of turn 1 straight away. I'm having a look at it. Let's see. But yes, Alistair has to yield. Moment. Tom is starting to pull out a gap. Jono's keeping right on his tail at the moment, so. Not much in there. Just the top three motor drivers. Try to balance it out. As they're starting to lag behind. Jono just putting pressure on.
Oh no, and Retro's gone around! And Boothie's gone around! Boothie is destroyed!
Another safety car.
And there's a chaos! The
Oh
track
my
is
God,
blocked! The track
chaos
is blocked on the
all
main
over the
straightaway!
track.
And Dave has nowhere to go! Dave barely avoids! Here comes Books! And Books is going to barely avoid the carnage! And that's Retro Rixie, one of our championship contenders, also involved in the incident there! Boothie's car is destroyed there!
I feel like.
And there's the reason why NASCAR does not run on ovals in the rain, because it is not possible to get proper traction going on these wet tracks in the banked corners. I'm going to be very honest right now. The circuit is not safe for racing. There is too much rain on the circuit, and when you have two highly banked corners, you cannot run a race in that condition. The fact that we saw about 10 drivers make it through the final corner speaks monuments to their ability, but this is not safe conditions. If this was real life, this needs to be a red flag. Like,
Yeah,
I know it sounds like I'm being over the top and dramatic here, but like, I'm dead serious here. This is not good. If this was real life, this could not be allowed.
Gusty's taking a big risk. He's on intermediates. No, this is not this is no point try to do it, because I think you will be ending yourself in the wall. Another safety car there. I think some drivers will be pleased with that, because especially with the type of conditions. Whippy's stuck in P8 at the moment. But that was a very horrible accident, and I think Books and Davey they were probably lucky to get out of there alive, and Tom and Jono were in the pits.
Jono is putting on the intermediate tires, so the drivers closer to the front of the field feel like they can actually make things happen if they throw in the intermediate tires. The problem with that, though, is that these drivers are now going to be going through more spray, more water kicked up through the air. There will be a little bit less water on the track directly in front of them, because the drivers ahead will be, and Coley Boy has a drive-through penalty for speeding on the safety car. But the drivers who are now going to the back on the intermediates, they have a sort of a good idea, because there will be dry tire tracks in front of them from the cars who have already gone by. But there's going to be significantly more spray. It's going to be significantly harder to actually do anything.
What? Oh no! Just don't do a Bottas in Mugello and you'll be fine.
And we're getting word
that's
that
the main thing.
We're getting word that in the Ferrari team, XRL X3 does not feel very comfortable doing a safety car restart. And it's one thing if you've never done a safety car restart in the lead before. It's a completely different thing if you've never done it before in these extreme conditions. This is going to be a make or break moment for Azda. None of his championship contenders are anywhere near him right now. Yono pitted, he's all the way back in 9th. Whippy is all the way back in 11th. He's also pitted. Everything falls on Azda's head right now.
I think he's done the right decision, like staying out on the wets, because we could be seeing, like, if we see a driver in the intermediate spinning it, that just shows it's not like for intermediate conditions. So it's a big risk as well doing it, especially like with the weather being this bad.
Farther back there. Checker is coming in, as is Turbo, as is, it looks like Retro's coming in also. They're all coming in and putting on these intermediates. Yeah, I have to agree with you, Torpedo. I don't think the track is in a safe condition to run intermediate tires, unless they think, for whatever reason, so maybe, and I'm not saying this is the case, maybe they're hoping that the rain is not staying on the bank portions of the track and it's running down at a consistent rate, so the intermediates can give them a little bit more grip. I don't know enough about the physics of water and fluid dynamics to know if that's actually going to work or not, but that might be the thought they have. Right now, everyone who is not in the top 5 has come into the pits and has put on intermediate tires. Or, in the case of Boothie, has crashed out.
Well, yeah, we've already had one time, and we could be seeing a lot more if it at this rate. So, safety car, we should be seeing that coming in this lap. Yeah, so we'll be about to go racing again. And the spray is
Real
just...
quickly looking at the penalties right now, Collie Boy is 5th, but he's going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. Retro XC has 5 seconds worth of penalties against him right now. Other than that, there are no penalties. And yes, you called it right, Torpedo. The safety car is coming in this lap.
Right, we'll see how Asda will do in this restart. Hopefully it's a good one.
I'm going to be riding on board with Mufasta at the start, so we can get a good view as to what Asda does here when they come to the green flag.
I'm on board with Retro at the moment, at the back, see if everything is okay, so... We can see, I think. And also the timing is going to be, has to be perfection as well. I think we could be seeing it. Is that? Yes it is, I think he's timed it well.
Yep, very good start by Asda and Mufasta and Tasani, but behind them, Collie Boy is already under threat from Tome. He's going to hold on to the position. Jono, farther back, is already side by side with the Williams of Tome, neck and neck. Tome is stuck on the outside line. They're going to be neck and neck as they go into these banked corners. That is turn 3. Still neck and neck. The Williams has his nose ahead for now. So one of these two are going to have to back out. You can't be running side by side through here, even in dry conditions. It's the Williams that backs out. Now, Whippy is the driver who is caught behind. Oh, and there goes a racing point. That's not a racing point, that's Collie Boy. Collie Boy has gone into the dirt. He's back onto the circuit, but he's lost a bunch of positions now. So Collie Boy plummets through the field very quickly.
Oh,
Bolts
Whippy's
has
getting...
just made an overtake.
Oh.
Oh, the back of the field is just absolute chaos right now. Everyone's just trying to put their car anywhere that they can see a little bit more of the track. Dave Ewart nearly runs in the back of Gusty. Gusty is extremely slow right now, it seems. A little bit of contact, but everyone still somehow has kept it together at the end of that back straightaway. Here's Retro trying to make his way up. He's going to get by Dave Ewart there.
And check it. There is almost going into Collie Boy there on the banking, and Collie Boy's going off.
Boy's on the inside wall. Collie Boy has to come to the pits. He's making his drive through now, I'm guessing.
Yes, he is. He's doing his drive-through penalty.
Whippy has recovered up into 7th. Yono is trying to fight with Scholl. He's going to lose a position. Scholl is going to lose a position. So Yono, despite pitting, is now the highest of everyone who's jumped onto the intermediates. He has worked his way up into the 4th position. So they're making the intermediates work right now. Right on board, Dino is going to make an overtake on Whippy. Whippy's into the wall. Whippy's into the wall. He saved the car, but there is damage on the front wing, and now he's plummeting through the field. He's just lost a position to Gusty now, and he's going to have to pit probably to repair the damage to that front wing.
Collie Boy's gone.
Oh, and Collie Boy! Collie Boy's had an instant there in Sector 1, all by himself, and there's significant front wing damage on the car.
Meanwhile, pulled out a 2.67.
Oh, the two Tracy points nearly get into it, and they have Books right behind them. Scholl on the inside of Dino, they make contact twice. Books is tweaking to the outside to try and get by Scholl, neck and neck. Books has the intermediate tire. Scholl is going to give the position to Books. You can't even really fight in these conditions. It's so wet, it's so tight that the driver who's just in a bad position is basically encouraged to let out.
Mercedes have checked. Was made a move on Whippy on the inside of the banking and goes up to 10th place, but Whippy is going to be fighting back on the outside. Schultz had a spin.
Between Gusty and there's Schultz.
Whippy's involved,
right,
and Turbo.
Whippy's involved. Turbo's involved.
Chaos at the moment.
The back of the field is an absolute wreck right now. And Collie Boy is still running extremely slow on the track by himself as well. There's just instants all over the circuit right now. Retro, a championship contender, is stuck in this massive amount of chaos right now. They're both trying to split Scholl, but there's not a track. And now Retro's been run off the circuit. He gets back on barely at the last minute behind Scholl. Scholl is much slower than all these drivers here. He's on the wets. It looks like the full wet tires might not be the way to go. We may have called it wrong in the booth. It looks like the intermediates are the way to go. They're significantly faster right now.
Yeah, Jono's caught up right to Asda, and he's taking the lead of the race. So the wets are not the way to go right now.
Tome is caught there behind Mufasa. Mufasa significantly slower than the 2 cars behind, but making this pass is going to be very difficult. Mufasa has a much better time of putting the power down. It looks like the wet weather tires is good for safety, but intermediates are now the way to go and are now the faster tires. It looks also like the weather has let up just a little bit. The rain isn't quite as bad as it was at the start. Mufasa has come into the pits. Dasani is the only driver out there right now still on wets. Ozda has come into the pits as well, but the thing is, now Ozda and Mufasa are going to be buried in the back of the field where all the extreme chaos is. This could be perfect for Jono and his championship chances.
Yeah, he's got a 6-second lead over Tom at the moment. But it can all change as well, like incidents, maybe another safety car. We don't know, anything can happen this race.
Retro is right there behind Tasani. Retro is finally back into the points paying position. Ozda has been leading most of the race, well, not most, but a good part of this race. Now he's out of the points paying positions. Retro trying to make something happen on the outside of Tasani right now. Careful putting the power down, coming onto that back straightaway. So yes, the track conditions are getting slightly better now, it seems. The rain is not nearly as intense. The spray from the back of the cars are not nearly as intense at this point. So the track is a little bit safer to drive at least. Wilkes right now is caught behind Dave Ewart, trying to make something happen to him. Turbo on the inside of Tasani. Tasani's coming into the pits.
Books and Dave Ewart are having a battle in the P9. Az is catching right up to this as well, so this is looking good. No.
Being able to overtake here, even in dry conditions, is very difficult. It's going to be a real test of mental and fortitude for Whippy, Retro, and Ozda to get points and go up through the field here. Books is really putting the pressure on Dave Ewart. He's already trying to go side by side. Dave's not even going to fight back.
And as that takes advantage of Books getting past Dave Ewart and moves up into 10th place.
So Ozda is now back in the points paying positions, but behind all of his biggest rivals in the points. Books is behind Turbo right now. Turbo was struggling very significantly in qualifying. Just didn't seem to have the car set up well. Even under dry conditions, he seems to be very slow under the wet. And the thing is, there's no DRS, so Books has to find a way of pure driver skill to get by the Red Bull. He's got the Williams right beneath. Now he's coming to the inside. Neck and neck for the 8th position. And at the end of the straight, Books is going to end up ahead of the Red Bull. Here comes Ozda right behind. He now has to put his medal to the test against the Red Bull. Whippy had a moment where he got knocked off the circuit. He's been involved in 2 instances, small extent to some level. He crashed out in Q3, and despite that, he's recovering very well. He's 6th, and he is stalking the AlphaTauri of Gusty in 5th right now.
Az has putting pressure on Turbo right now. He's all over the back of him. It will only be a matter of time before he makes the move.
Yono fastest lap 121.332. Ozda looks. Ozda right now is just trying to get a better line through these corners so he'll have more speed than the Red Bull. He's on the inside of the Red Bull now. The Red Bull's going to chop down in front of him. That's not going to help Ozda's downforce. But the Ferrari is in the draft of the Red Bull going down the straight. He's going to look to the inside, neck and neck for the position. The Red Bull has the nose ahead, going through turn 1, a little bit of contact, and Ozda muscles his way through, so move Ozda up into the 9th position now. And now Ozda has a little bit of clean track ahead of him where he can just focus on turning laps. Also, the rain is not nearly as bad, and the field is pretty much spread out now. So I think we can definitely say the track conditions are significantly better, and the spray is not going to be nearly as bad. I don't think we're going to have as many incidents unless drivers are being too aggressive putting the power down at this point. Now here's an interesting thing. A little bit of a battle is beginning to form for the 2nd position. Tone is 2nd. Dino and Schecker behind them are both faster. These are all Mercedes-powered cars, all closing in on each other right now. Now, Tone seems to be a little bit better putting the power down, coming out of the corners, but Dino and Schecker seem to be a little bit better in the faster flowing sections, particularly in turn 1 and turn 2. It's going to be very interesting to see if Dino and Schecker can actually do anything to the Williams that's currently in 2nd. Whippy has fallen just a little bit behind Gusty. He's about 1.1 seconds back from him right now. And Turbo is coming into the pits. Now it looks like there's wing damage on the car. They're repairing the front wing on that Red Bull. Mufasa in 11th, who was spending a good part of the time up in the front, is now caught Dave Ewart, and this will be a battle for points and position. Dave Ewart is neck and neck with Mufasa, and he's not even going to fight back. There's no gain right now in Dave's eyes to fight back, so Mufasa will move into the points-paying positions. So here's an interesting thing to consider. Right now, the youngest tires of everyone on track is Turbo. You have Turbo, Collie Boy, Tasani, and Schold all have tires that are 4 laps young or younger. Everyone ahead of them has tires that are about 8 laps older, with the exception of Ozda and Mufasa. Ozda is 9th with clean track ahead of him for the moment, although he's closing in on books at a relatively quick rate. Depending on how long this stays out, this could, in a backwards way, play into Ozda and Mufasa's hands just a little bit because their tires are going to be a lot fresher for a lot longer. But if we stop seeing rain and the track starts drying out, that's going to mean it's going to be a rush to get sauce. But for right now, there's still rain, and it doesn't look like the rain's going to abate anytime soon. So for now, the longer and longer this goes, the better it's going to be for Ozda and Mufasa, who are in the 9th and 10th positions.
And it also is, if we are going to be going to dries, it's also the timing is going to be crucial for drivers. At the exact moment that they correct it and they come out on top on it.
I'm currently watching Dino as Dino is stalking Tome. Farther back, Ozda is beginning to put a little bit of pressure on Books. Not a lot at the moment, but he is starting to put pressure on. And then outside the points paid position, Tasani is catching Schold. Schold has a time penalty against him. Tasani does not. So as it stands right now, that battle, if they were finished where they are right now, Tasani would overtake Schold at the end of the race. But Dino is consistently staying within about half a second or so of the Williams ahead. Interestingly enough, the Mercedes and Schecker has actually dropped off this battle just a little bit. And Dave is pitting. So Dave is pitted, and more than likely, I think they're repairing wing damage on that car.
As is literally putting so much pressure on Books right now, and
a little bit of contact.
Oh.
Ozda's getting very impatient right now. If Ozda can get by Books, there would be a lot of clean track ahead. Oh, look at Books, runs really, really wide through there. Ozda's in a completely different lane all on their own. They're going to be neck and neck coming onto the short back straight. Yep, good job on Ozda. Now he's going to have about 6.5 seconds worth of clean track ahead of him, and the next driver he will catch will be Retro Rixie, who is a point contender. And Retro is being held up by Whippy, who is also... Oh, and a car has crashed! A car has crashed on the main straightaway! He's coming to the pits, though. That
He is a lap down as well.
very quickly. Yono has actually lost some of that massive lead he had. He had extended that thing to about 7 seconds, and now dropped to about 5.7 at the moment. But he still has a significant lead over Tome. Dino is continuing to put some pressure on Tome, but not making any active moves right now. As of now, Ozza is the driver who is making the most moves through the field, with other moves being made by the likes of Whippy and Retro early on the restart, but now the track seems to be drying out, and I don't think it's raining anymore. It looks like the weather, the skies have closed out. Gusty has just lost the position, is fighting with Whippy right now for the position 5th and 6th, and Whippy has run off the circuit and has lost the position to Retro. So now Whippy has fallen behind. The rain is gone. The track is still wet. And it's a virtual safety car.
Jono's in.
The entire front wing dam on Colley's boy's car. Yeah, Jono comes in. Everyone might come in and start putting on softs. In fact, this might be the best time to put on softs because the track is only going to start getting drier from here on out with the rain gone. Jono has equipped mediums. Tome is coming to the pits. Dino is coming to the pits. Checker is coming to the pits. Gusty is staying out, but he is on intermediates.
As does also come in along with Books.
Dino is put on intermediate, a new set of intermediates. Tome is on mediums. Checker is on intermediates. Whippy is on mediums. Books is on intermediates. Ozza is putting on mediums. Whippy is on mediums. Retro is on mediums. Mufasa is coming into the pits right now. So everyone seems to be jumping into the pit lane right now.
As the jumped Retro, As the jumped Retro. And Dino's got drivers for speeding under BSC. Oh.
Retro had a penalty if memory serves correctly, and now it's going to play huge into Ozza's hands because Whippy was behind. So Ozza has now jumped over 2 of his rivals in the points. Yono still has the race lead though. Here's the thing: Ozza is going to be on mediums compared to Dino and Checker ahead, who are both on intermediates. So Ozza is going to catch them very quickly. Oh, and Retro's gone off circuit. Retro's gone off circuit and damaged the nose of the car.
And now it's not good as well.
Oh, Dino and Checker have drive-through penalties they're going to have to serve.
And Tome.
As does Tome. Tome has drive-throughs to serve also. So now, Azda is going to end up in 3rd behind
right
Gusty
into
and
his
Jono.
hand.
And Gusty is going to be... And Gusty is running on the...
He's coming in now.
Yeah, Gusty is on the intermediates and they're way slower. So Ozza's going to come out of this in 2nd. He's going to be way behind. And Dave Ewart has an accident. Dave... And there's a safety car. A full-course safety car has just come out. Ozza is going to be brought all the way up to right to Jono's rear end now because of this.
Well, Tom's out. Dino is out, and he's on fresh set of intermediates. I think. Or not, I don't know.
Dave, right there, the same place that we saw Herbie crash out in the realistic race yesterday. But the track is completely dry now.
This helps some drivers as well because they can, with the safety car, they'll bunch right up, and I think it gives some drivers that have had incidents.
Right, so this didn't help. This did not help Ozza as much as I thought because Ozza is still behind Gusty, Dino, and Tome. Dino put on fresh intermediates, which is a very, very strange decision. I wonder why he didn't put on mediums or softs. But we are on a dry racetrack now, and Ozza is 5th. His biggest rival in the points, Yono, is currently leading. Yono had a advantage of 18.9 seconds when the safety car came out, so it's going to take a long time for the field to properly gather up. To put things in perspective, Collie Boy is just now coming by the safety car. Yeah, it's going to take a long time for the field to properly gather up. This will be a long yellow flag, to say the least.
Yeah, it will be indeed. We got... quite a bit left in the race as well. Dino is going back into the pit lane right now during the safety car period, so that'll be promoting some drivers up a place, and he'll be fitting on the mediums. So I don't know what went wrong when he came to the pits earlier, but he's fine.
I will say this: the
He's
track
on
seemed to
mediums.
go from wet to dry, like almost snap of the fingers. Us in the booth, we didn't even really see it happen. The drivers really saw it first, so I can't really fault Dino and the team for making the choice to stay on intermediates, but they went from one set of intermediates to another one when they could have just stayed out and kept using the intermediates they were on. That's the thing that I'm really kind of questioning.
Yes.
Okay, so he just may have not had the ability or the time to properly swap the tire choice that the game would have given him from the intermediates to the medium. So yeah, that could have been, thank you very much for sharing that. So yeah, it could have been just an issue where he might not have had enough time to adjust the tires in the settings. Okay, but anyways, the field is still struggling to catch back up. Tom is still 5.5 seconds off the back of Yono right now. So yeah, this is going to be a very, very long yellow flag. And when we go green, we're going to be looking at about 12 to 13 laps to go. So we'll still have about a third of the race left. Also, we might see DRS coming back very shortly as well. And that will be huge for drivers like Tom, Gusty, Ozza, and Whippy, because they might be able to use DRS to try and make something happen to Jono. Jono got the lead early after Mufasa and Ozda lost positions and later on pitted off sequence with everyone else. But Jono pulled off a massive lead in the wet. I'm curious to see what he's going to be able to do in the dry.
Yeah, we're still waiting for Shoals, Retro, Tisani, Turbo, and Collie Boy to catch up to the safety car, and then we can go green flag racing. Shouldn't be too long before we see it. Shoals and Retro have just caught up.
I think we're probably going to go green on lap 24 at the rate it's going, because there's no way that Turbo and Collie Boy will properly catch the back of the field this lap. So I think we'll go green on lap 24. So the entire field has now properly caught and gathered up, except for Turbo, and we'll see Turbo catch the back of the field in about 3 seconds or so. That was a bit of an exaggeration on my part, obviously, so we should be going green coming on to lap 24. What started as a race in conditions so wet that it honestly wasn't even safe to race, the track and the weather has changed very quickly, very dramatically today. We are now on a completely dry racetrack. And credit where credit's due. Massive credit to the drivers. We have only had 2 DNFs in those extreme
And that's both
rain
Alfa
conditions.
Romeos as well.
Yeah. So credit where credit's due. Of the 16 drivers that started, 14 of them are still racing in conditions that were not safe to race in. So very, very good job on everyone to keep it together as long as they can. And to Dave and Boothie, sorry that you guys ended up getting knocked out of the event, but you tried, and we want to just give you applause for at least trying and being willing to put on the show that you can and do what you're hired to do, basically, in very treacherous conditions.
Bearing in mind, we are in round 5, so we've still got races to go in this season, so still time to get more points and that. Whoa, what's happened?
Mazda!
He's gone.
He's crashed under the safety car. Has fallen all the way to 13th. What? I don't see any damage on the car, but he's fallen all the way to the back somehow.
safety car on this lap, and that is actually not good for, but it's good though for Whippy and Jono.
Yes, and Retro, because now Retro is back in the points paying positions.
That is very
Oh,
weird.
this is very bad also. Everything's just gone pear-shaped for Ozda. I think that's the metaphor used. But meanwhile, coming at the front, Jono bringing the field to the green flag, and he will have Tome, Gusty, and Whippy all right there behind him. Green flag falling on the field right now.
And Whippy got past Gusty immediately, and I think Checker's just serving a drive-through penalty that he had. Turbo and Asda going wheel to wheel. Turbo.
Oh, 3 wide there in turn 4. The AlphaTauri nearly gets split by the Williams and the Tracy Point, but he's going to pull out of it. Now Books loses the position to Dino. They're neck and neck through these high-speed bends. You don't want to be going side by side through here. They don't seem to care, but Books will back out of it from behind Dino.
Turbo's got 3 seconds. Asda's gone again. Oh no, he's not. Asda almost gone. Collieboy's got a 5-second time penalty for ignoring blue flags. But he's let Turbo and Asda go by. But Asda needs to get past, or will have to get past Turbo in the next few laps. But obviously, he needs to do it quickly because there is no DRS, and Tisani is starting to pull away. He's done it on the inside of the banking, and he's up into 11th place. Good move from Asda.
Dino on the inside of Gusty for the 4th and 5th positions. They're still neck and neck, and Gusty runs a little wide into the dirt, so he's going to fall behind, and now Gusty will fall under threat from Books once more. Books slings the car into turn 4, but ends up losing speed on exit, so keep the AlphaTauri ahead for just a bit longer.
Turbo went into the back of Asda there. I don't think Turbo's got any damage on the... No, he doesn't. He doesn't have any damage in the car, so... but nothing too significant between the two drivers. As Asda's now trying to chase down Tisani, who's getting... who's stuck behind Schold, Retro, and Mufasa at the moment.
We should see DRS enable in a lap or 2. The track is definitely dry enough for it. Also, something else of note, Jono is not pulling away from the field nearly as much as he was in the rain. He does have a little bit more than a second lead over Tome for right now. But once DRS starts enabling, I imagine we'll see Whippy make short work of Tome. And Whippy definitely has the ability to get up to Tome once DRS comes onto the circuit. Dino, fastest lap of the race, 1:12.277. There's the word from race control. DRS has been enabled. Retro right there behind Mufasa, and he has Schold right behind him. So Retro needs to be playing his cards very careful, game by the Red Bull, because if not, he's going to open himself to an attack from the tracing point behind.
House is really closing off at the moment.
Oz's problem is going to be he's going to catch this battle ahead, and then what? He basically needs to pick them off one by one. It's not like you can just overtake 7 cars in the lap, unless they all wreck, in which case you have a bigger problem on your hands. But
that was Collieboy just letting check her lap.
oh, and Schold goes onto the dirt, and now he's going to open himself up to Tasani on the inside. Tasani will overtake Schold.
And then Asda will go by.
DRS. So Ozza is now back into the points-paying positions. He is in 10th. Retro is fighting with Mufasa right now. Neck and neck as they run down to turn 2. A little bit of contact. More contact. But Retro gets it. Mufasa is spun around. And Mufasa is crashed. Mufasa falls all the way down to 13th position. Ozda is right there behind Tasani right now. He needs that Haas to move out of the way and move out of the way fast. There he is. He's making the move. Neck and neck. And now Scholl is fighting with Tassani. Scholl spins. Scholl spins off Tassani and damages the front wheel of the car very badly. Mazda is now up into 8th. He is 2.5 seconds off from Retro. Meanwhile, farther up, Gusty and Books continue to fight, and Gusty has pushed Books off the circuit. Books hits Gusty. That might be something that the officials look at later in the event. Turbo and Checker are in a fight now. They make contact once, twice. Turbo nearly puts Checker in the wall. They're neck and neck going down into the second to last corner. It's a braking zone. They make contact again. Checker is going to take the spot over Turbo for now. Dino has Tome in his sights. He's going to try and make something happen. Also, Whippy is closing. He's already gone past Tome, and he is now trying to whittle the gap between himself and Jono. He's trying to get within DRS range. Mufasa has jumped into the pits. He has equipped Softset. He will more likely run to the end of this race. The gap between first and second, not quite enough. Whippy didn't have DRS going down that short back straightaway, but he is closing in on the McLaren. First and second are powered by the same Renault engines. It's all going to come down to setup and driver ability. Whippy trying to be within a second so he can start using DRS to close in on the Renault. It's not going to happen this lap either down the main straight, though. Dino has DRS on Tome, and Tome has DRS on Whippy for the moment. But Whippy is slowly gaining away from Tome, and once he's outside of Tome's DRS range, Tome is going to have to just use ERS for defense against Dino on the straights. Retro, meanwhile, is catching Books and is going to start putting the Williams under threat. That Williams of Books has started losing ground gradually since the restart.
Yellow flag.
Yellow flag in Sector 3. That's Scholl! Scholl has had a massive incident on the main straightaway, and that's a full course safety car once more.
Big advantage.
And now this will get very interesting because drivers might come in and start jumping onto soft tires to run the rest of the race. There's only going to be about 6 or 7 laps to go in the race when they go green flag. Putting on softs could be a very, very serious option. And for Mufasa, who pitted just a little bit before this and put on softs, he's going to be in a great position because he's going to be in softs and will leapfrog anyone who does decide to pit under this safety car. So now the question is, if you're Books, if you're Retro, if you're Azda, the driver's in the middle of the field, do you give up the track position you have to put on softs, or do you stay out on the mediums and have to hold off the drivers who will be on softs behind you? Jono's paying out of the lead. Whippy is going to take the top spot now. Retro is going to stay out, though. Azda's staying out on the mediums, but he's going to have Jono right behind him, who is on the softs. Dasani is staying out on the mediums. Tone pitted, Dino pitted, Checkster, 5-second penalty for speed in pit lane. Turbo's coming in, he's swapping. So basically, there's only 4 cars on track who are sticking with the mediums. Whippy, Retro, and Azda and Jono, our 4 biggest championship contenders, are now back in the front of the field. Retro, Whippy, and Azda have worn mediums. Jono has fresh sauce that he will run to the end. And Jono has Tassani right behind him. But Tassani is going to be on worn mediums as well. So I don't anticipate that Haas will be able to put a fight. So it's going to be a true fight for championship points at the front of the field. And for Whippy, this will be the best chance to really put the nail in the coffin for this bad start of the season and start turning everything around. This is going to get crazy, and probably get crazy fast. The field's not properly all caught up yet. Mufasa's going to take a little bit of time to get there. I anticipate we'll go green on lap 32, which will be about 5 laps to go. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 5 laps to go. We are down to only 13 cars on the racetrack. Also, real quickly, looking at the penalties, Coley Boy has a 5-second penalty, but he's basically a lap down pretty much compared to the rest of the field, so it doesn't really matter much. And then Checker has 5 seconds worth of time time penalties. Turbo has 3 seconds worth. No one in the top 9 as of now has time penalties. Obviously that can change, but for right now it's not. Checker is coming in and he is swapping off of his softs. He's serving his time penalty now, but he's swapping off the softs and will be putting on medium tires. Kind of a strange decision, but okay. So now the race is in Whippy's hands with Retro and Ozda right behind them, and then Yono behind him. Ozda, who has had a very up and down race. If he can hold on and bring a podium out of this, I'm just going to say potential driver of the day, considering he spun out under one of the earlier safety cars, as now through ability and a little bit of luck and strategy worked his way back into the podium. This could be very big, very fast. And then for Whippy, Whippy has been kind of like stuck in the midfield all day, and now he's going to end up with the lead. Retro has been out of the points for a good chunk of the day. He's suddenly second. What's happened to Dino and Cully? I don't know. There was a little bit of a weird stack up there in Sector 2, but it looks like they're getting sorted out. Everyone's kind of gathering and bunching up really aggressively. There's the word. Safety car is going to come in this lap. We'll go green with 5 laps to go. Top 3 all gathered up very closely behind Whippy. This is it. Time to go to the green flag. What is this race gonna look like?
From Dino down to Checker, I think it is. Collie Boy is there in front of Dino, so he's gonna have to get out of the way. He's a lapped car at the moment, so I think he's 2 laps down, I think. All going green flag.
Flag is in the air.
Oh, that carnage at the back. Everyone had to try and avoid Collie Boy. He just slowed down, I think, in the middle of the, well, on the left-hand side of the track. Gusty and Checker are having a nice little battle at the moment. And Gusty's there, but Checker's at the wall. And he's got significant front wing damage.
Ozda is right there behind Retro. And he's got Yono behind him. Whippy wants to see this, because the longer they all fight, the more likely it will be that Whippy can walk out of this with the win.
4 lap sprint at the moment. Checkers has just gone into the gravel with that front wing damage.
Now
And he's spun it. And he's gone. He's
out.
Spun it into the wall, and he's out of the race.
There's only local yellow flags in that area for now, though.
I think it should be fine though. Tom and Tisani, a little battle. Tom backed out of it, but he will go and do it on the main straight. Try to get past him. Gusty's gonna
stay green.
Gusty's trying to get past. Books making almost way to the back and move faster. Side by side between Gusty and Books. This could not end well, but it does. It's not, and Books stays ahead of Gusty.
1.2 second gap on second place. Ozda is right there behind Retro, but hasn't been able to get by him yet, and Yono is putting a lot of pressure on the Ferrari right now.
Oh, Books went wide. And it's those places to Turbo and Gusty.
Anticipate DRS will come in the next lap, which will be with 3 laps to go. That will be Oz's best chance of getting by Retro. But Whippy is trying to sail off into the sunset as quickly as he can. Thing is, Ozza has to put just as much focus into defending against Yono as he does trying to catch Retro there. DRS has been enabled, there's the word. Tone, fastest lap, 112.141.
Gusty's trying to get into the slipstream of Mufasa, but Mufasa was not having any of it. They're battling for 7th, because Mufasa is on the back of Tisani. Gusty tried to go around the outside of the bank, but it doesn't work. has to stay in P9 for the moment.
Here comes Yono. Yono just muscled his way by Azda. Very aggressively. In a section of the track that you typically don't want to go side by side in, those soft tires are really paying strong dividends for Yono. He's going to have DRS on his teammate Retro. Yono is going to try and make a charge from fourth to first in these last few laps here. Oh wow, Tom with a move on Azda on the softs. Yes, the soft tires truly were the way to go, it seems. Azda is pretty much a sitting duck to the faster soft tires behind him now.
Jono's got a 3-second time penalty now, so that's going to
that's going to kill Yono's chance at winning this race. Now Books has a time penalty for track violations as well. Azda and Tom neck and neck. Azda has no defense. The mediums just cannot stack up to the softs right now. Azda is starting to plummet through the field. This means that unless Retro can somehow close down on Whippy, this race is over, and it's going to be Whippy who will take home the win here.
Mufasta's try to defend from Gusty. Gusty's been locking up quite a bit, and like at the banking at turn 3, so his tyres are not probably looking good with that. Still battling for P7. T-Sunny's holding up the train. Well, and with Turbo coming. Looks pretty much Collie Boy, but he's a lap down. And
Yono's just gotten by Retro. Yono is charging hard. The thing is, Yono needs to try and outrun as many people as he can so he can walk out here with the most points. So that way Yono can try and walk out here with the points lead. He is 2 seconds out from Whippy. And as they're coming to the white flag now, there's no way that Yono's even going to catch the leader, frankly. But Yono will be second with a 3-second time penalty against him, so he's going to plummet in the final order. The question is, how much will he plummet?
And
Dino
obviously
is putting extreme pressure on Azda right now, so it doesn't look like Yono is going to lose his position to those two, but Yono might lose his position to Tom and Retro.
Gusty made a move on Mufasta into turn 1 there, and almost lost it, but he managed to keep it on, and now he's chasing T-Sunny. I think after the race as well, to try and get a hold of our...
Retro has just had a huge accident there with Tom, and they're both speeding across the track, and the field is holy huge airport instant, and there's tracks all over, a massive crash, and they just keep wrecking. The entire back half of the field has just been destroyed. That's going to be a yellow flag that will likely end the race. There was at least 5 cars that just got taken out in that incident.
That is a big one, and that will definitely be something for the stewards after the race event as well. And I was just about to say, before that incident happened,
huge airtime. He hit the back of the number 1, and we saw the tracing point leap into the air and very nearly go over in that accident. And then the field just kept piling in. It was a blind corner, but the race is over. Azda is going to bounce back and take home second from that. Whippy is going to win this race. Azda is going to be second. Wow! What in the world? I saw that happen, and I don't know what happened.
I was on board with Collie Boy. No, not Collie Boy. Gusty, and I seen him go into the air. Like, I was seeing that all happen. It was just 5 cars. That was really mental. And obviously we'll try and...
Try to invite as many of them in there to see what happened.
I'm trying to get Whippy in as well. So the race winner, try to get him interviewed.
Oh, wow. That was a horrible accident.
Well, there you go. That a dramatic end to the race, seeing 5 cars retiring at the end there. And there we go.
There's Whippy coming into
there we go.
What in the world was that?
That was a weird end of the race.
Mate, I have no idea how I did that.
Alright, Whippy, go ahead and include your audio. What do you have to say about that instant back there, that race in general?
The race in general. I got taken out twice, had no wing for half the race. Managed to get jump on Jono by him pitting, and I didn't pit. And somehow I held the gap to him once he got past Asta and Retro. So, Yeah, exhausting P10 to be one of my better races for sure.
Whippy, I just want to say that was an incredible drive on your part, and despite the mediums being so slow, you were able to open up a good gap on the restart. Incredible job, Whippy.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Feels good.
I'm trying to invite some of the drivers who were involved in that massive accident there on the last lap. Not having much of a luck gain in there, but Ozda, go ahead and include your audio. Out of nowhere, you were all over the place the entire day today.
Yeah.
From the front to the back to the front to the back. Somehow you took home second. How the heck did you do that?
Honestly, I have no idea, but I'm just saying, you know, like the second safety car, I'll say I spun, went to the back for, I'm not going to get any points out of this race, so I might get a couple, and then I'll say charge my way through the field, and then that last lap occurrence happened, got to P3, and then I saw that Jono was like 2.9 seconds ahead, so I just literally whacked my ERS on, and I literally crossed the line with no ERS, so yeah, and obviously got P2, that's good for the standings, and yeah, it's gonna be an interesting season, I'd say.
All right, thank you very much, Mufasa. Please stand by because I do want to hear what you have to say about the race from your perspective. Same with you, Retro. Ozda, Ozda, I just want to say this. Oh no, Ozda's already gone. Okay, cool. Retro, real quickly. It looked like it was gonna be a good day for you in points. What happened, Retro, at the end there on that last lap?
Did it look like it was going to be a good race? I didn't feel like it. I just lost it. I was just trying to keep up points up because I should have a load of penalties to come off. And just didn't have any luck. I just lost it and took everyone out with me by the looks of it. I need to see it back because I didn't see any of it.
Yeah, I think he took
it was a massive accident. Yeah, basically everyone who wasn't in like the top two, and then like one. Oh, there was only like 7 drivers who finished that race. You basically eliminated half the field in that accident.
Yeah, it's insane. Yeah, I need to watch it back.
7.
Only 7 drivers finished. Yeah, it was a big accident on the last lap. One of the guys got airborne and everything. Yeah. Basically, second and third crashed, and only like 2 or 3 guys got by it. All right, real quickly. Mufasa, go ahead, include your audio. What happened on the last lap there?
I don't know.
Alright, well, that's the word from that crazy race. And craziest part is the worst elements, the worst accidents and everything happened in the end when the track was nice and dry and the field was, for the most part, spread out. And then we see probably the worst accident I've ever seen in XRL, period, up to this point.
You know, I think it is going to be there. And I think it's going to be probably a main talking point for the incidents, I think.
Yeah. And again, I do want to say this, like, that end was really, really strange. The race in general is kind of strange. We started in conditions that were extremely, excessively wet. I'm dead serious. They probably shouldn't have been racing in conditions that wet at the very start. But yet, almost everyone got through without too much incidents. We didn't see our first real DNF until, I think, lap 4. And then we got going, and the track dried out. This entire race was an absolute mess in both the best ways and the worst ways. Just so much to talk about. I'm still trying to process everything of what happened here.
Yeah, it was really. It was the last lap was just like really mental with the accident.
You said you were riding on board with the Alpha when it got launched into the air. Were you able to record that or anything? I'm gonna be very interested in seeing replays after the race. So.
Yeah,
Hopefully some people
I
got
don't
some
think.
decent replays of that.
Yeah, I was on board with Gusty as well when it happened.
Alright, but anyways, probably time to start wrapping up the broadcast here. Real quick, is there anything else you want to say, Torpedo, about this race in general? Who do you think gets the driver of the day?
Well, I'm probably gonna say. Well, I'm gonna be controversial probably about this. Like your race
Yeah,
was
no,
quite
this is
simple.
absolutely true.
Asda though he spun at the safety car, was last, and he made his way up, got P2, so I think it has to be Asda probably. Like Whippy,
I got taken out.
they got driver of the day by the game, but I'm giving it to Asda.
For me at least, driver of the day would be very hard fought between Asda and Whippy, because both of them basically came out of nowhere and took home the top 2 steps on the podium. Asda threw this race away and then came back at least on 3 separate occasions, and Whippy was stuck in like the midfield to the back of the pack most of the day, and through some clever strategy and everything, somehow ended up in the front and opened up a gap when the drivers behind him were on soft tires. So both of them, I think, are very much deserving a driver of the day. I think having 2 drivers deserving a driver of the day today makes up for, in my opinion, no one being deserving of it in the realistic race yesterday. Alright. But anyways, that's pretty much going to wrap up our broadcast here. Hopefully we'll be able, for those of you who are in the Discord, hopefully some people will be able to showcase other angles and videos of that massive last lap accident. Again, I've never seen something that big in XRL before. I'm honestly very curious to see more of it going forward. But I've been SaintLear13. I've been joined by Whippy here. And that's going to pretty much wrap up our broadcast today. Yeah, I will definitely.